Hey, we're live.
We are indeed.
And we're here just a couple minutes early for everybody to fill into the auditorium.
And we will be starting promptly at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Daylight Time, which is pretty much the same.
Yeah, which makes me feel really bad right now for any of our European friends.
Yeah.
Because it's late. That would be a 1 a.m. start.
Yeah. For some of them. 3 a.m. if you're in some places. So,
yeah.
Duh. I apologize, but you will have us recorded for the future, both here and on a podcast.
And we actually announced when we were going to do the episode ahead of time.
Yes.
And we're actually here.
Yes.
Isn't that exciting?
Yes. No more dartboards.
Yeah, real exciting, eh? So what did we decide on for those characters? Is it Margie and Livy?
Yeah.
Yeah, chewing the fat. With Margie and Livy.
Oh, you're Margie and I'm Livy.
Oh, I see. I'm Margie. Well, I didn't much care for that, but I guess I'm stuck with the name now.
Well, I mean, it's your name. It's the God-given name that God gave you, don't you know?
No, that's my slave name.
Oh, what's your real name then?
Kunta Kinte.
Well, Mr. Kunta Kinte. Demonetized.
You're
actually. Let's be honest here.
With as many Somalians as living in Minnesota, there probably are more.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think the YouTube algorithm is that fucking clever. It's pretty ham-fisted. It has no idea what that.
We've said it before. It should just be the tagline of the show. To be demonetized, you actually have to be monetized.
Yep. So
the other tagline for the show is, we have a podcast and a YouTube channel. If you'd like to watch it sometime, throw a dart at a calendar and pray to a god of luck. We had one watcher, and they're gone.
Yep.
It's all right.
So long, watcher. Well, I mean, not that watcher. You've kind of been up there for a while. Yep. So.
Got this nagging cough that I can't get rid of. How's that look?
7:59.
Basically centered.
Yeah, basically.
Adjusted a little bit. Maybe.
And it's a little personalized. It's got character.
It's artisanal. Better artisanal than autismal.
It's the walking simulator of YouTube channels.
Nice haircut. Yeah, I think Chris has a great haircut.
I mean, you could be talking about yours.
I probably. But I didn't get my haircut since the last show.
Neither did I.
I just put stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, being that it is 8 o'clock, we will introduce you to our other tagline, which is, thank you and all, and welcome again to the next episode of The Foally of Man. My name is Chris, and with me here today,
Robert.
And today we're going to be looking at Fallout Equestria Pink Eyes. For those who are out of the know, we look at Fallout Equestria, which is a blending of Fallout and My Little Pony, from the perspective of me being a brony and him
not being a
loser.
Brony. Come on. Low blow. Man, 2 episodes in a row now. Just too true, too honest, too hardcore. Cutting right to the quick.
He's also not a brony, but I mean, that too.
I don't have to be here. I don't have to take this abuse. There are plenty of other stables for me to saddle my ass in. All right, so what chapter are we covering this week? I believe it is chapter 14.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could actually tell you the name, Terminal. No,
Poiminal.
Not Terminal. That's way, way later. Sorry. Ragdoll. That's the level of professionalism and quality that you've come to expect from the Foally of Man here at Chrisco Industries. So we cover chapter 14, and last time where we left off was the Ponemedes weapon.
Yes.
Had been called down upon the ivory tower, and all the little colts and fillies were running for their lives.
Yes.
This included the Steel Rangers and Applejack's Rangers, evacuating the area as quick as they could. And that's where we pick up in this week's episode. Puppy Smiles basically has no idea what's going on.
No, she's just playing Captain Andromeda.
And Henrietta's like, well, we need to get the hell out of here.
Well, it doesn't take a bird brain to figure out, when everyone's flying away, you should probably fly too.
Yeah. But see, the funny thing is that I thought turkeys would drown in the rain, and this one seemed to have the intelligence to get the hell out of it.
Yeah. Well,
so, anyways, Henrietta
turkeys
snaps up Puppy Smiles, and they go tearing off. And of course, how would Henrietta want to get away? Certainly not on hoof or claw, I should say. But by the air, which of course Puppy Smiles hates. Puppy Smiles does not like to fly. She's big, scaredy britches. Now remind me, is Puppy Smiles canonically in the story 6 years old? Like, is that when she died? Do we actually have an age?
I'm not the best one to ask.
Well, thank God we actually have the author here. So, but Puppy Smiles is relatively...
Oh, I forgot to change the title. Oh, well.
What's the title?
Chapter 13.
That's on you.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to fix that later. Again, this is the level of quality and professionalism you've come to expect from the Foally of Man of Chrisco Industries.
You think that my shticks are worn out and tired?
Well, see, I'm the only one that actually has any broadcast experience, so I'm trying to lend some level of professionalism to this. My goddamn degree is in this shit, so I kind of feel like some of my honor is riding on this.
As well as a $60,000 loan?
No! College was only $30,000 for me. Thank you very much. I stand
corrected, but my point remains.
You stand corrected by 50%. It's kind of a big difference.
My point remains.
And who here doesn't have an expensive piece of paper that qualifies them as a professional? This guy.
Yeah.
Moving on. Thank you, Moonblaze. So, Puppy Smiles and Henrietta. Henrietta sounds like one of those old Southern names that you'd have called at the back of a farmhouse door. Henrietta! You get your gingham gowned ass back in here.
I really, really need a triangle to go along with that, the dinner triangle.
You know what's great about having the author here? Mimezinga says, thank you, Mimezinga. She's about 5 or 6. Not really important, actually. She's cartoon kid old, as in Dot from Animaniacs, or the other girl with the large dog always guarding for her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
Interesting point, a little bit off topic. Let's talk about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Go ahead.
No. So Max G, who does the Hot Diggity Demon stuff, which we all love here of the My Little Pony fandom.
Yeah.
He did those great
.mov.
Yeah, .movs. He had a really interesting point, and I want to share and give him kudos on this. And we'll link to the video in the description below so that y'all can see it yourself. But he said the reason why the Sonic movie doesn't work is because Sonic is a toon. There are animals and humans that are drawn, but toons are neither of those things. A toon could be an animal that looks like a human, or a human that looks kind of animalish, but they don't work when you try and make them fully 3D, fully HD. They don't work when you try and make them realistic.
Only one movie has done so successfully, and it stands on a pedestal because it did.
Okay, which movie?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
But see, that doesn't make them real. It left them as toons. That's the
what
wrong
I mean.
argument.
It's the only time in cinema where it did work. Even when they tried
I disagree.
To recreate
Space Jam. No, it worked. They are cartoons. They are put in a real world, but they stayed looking cartoonish. Anyways, I just thought that the argument was really, really good because, we're talking about in these characters, they are toons in a way.
Yeah.
Especially if Puppy Smiles, a lot of her actions, the way she talks is very cartoonish. But it's kind of been, he perfectly summarized what I couldn't figure out why the Sonic movie looked so bad to me.
I thought it was because it looked like those schlocky Brendan Fraser movies that you see every year.
There definitely was some of that.
We're gonna film in the upper northwest, in the
Pacific Northwest.
Pacific Northwest, and you know what? It's gonna look like every other movie that's ever been filmed up there.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was just making the point. I think that's a great way to summarize it because that's why it doesn't work. He's a toon, and you're trying to make him look realistic. For God's sakes, he has white gloves. Only cartoon characters have white gloves. Well, and weirdos. If you and I walked around with big cartoonish white gloves on, people would think we were up to some shady shit.
People in a big band might take offense to that.
Speaking of shady shit, I got passed by a car the other day on 85. They had a bumper sticker that said something furries, and the vanity plate was Woof Boy, BOI, Woof Boy.
Oh fuck! That is.
I was like, huh, that kind of looked like it said furries on the bumper sticker, and as it went by, Woof Boy. Yiffin' hell.
Well, I mean, to be fair, at least he owned it.
So Puppy Smiles and Henrietta are flying away. Puppy Smiles is upset about this, so she's basically choking Henrietta. And basically they're trying to get the hell out of there because the vast arrays of the Ponymedes orbital railgun, we find out it's a railgun, is about, and there's 12 of them. Yep. There's 12 of them are about to unload their entire payload because Puppy Smiles hit the trigger, I don't know, a dozen times.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah, basically, pew, pew, pew. But we're also getting updates that many of the satellites are either non-functioning, their recoil systems aren't functioning. Basically, they're falling apart. But even then, with only half of them firing, it just lays absolute frickin' waste to everything.
There's a saying when it comes to war. You can either there's different kinds of combat. You can either be throwing stones across a field.
Mm-hmm.
You can be throwing stones down from a hilltop, or you can be dropping stones down a well onto somebody who's standing at the bottom. And that's effectively what it is.
Yeah.
There's no escaping it, and it is the ultimate weapon.
When you got to think too, something fired from the upper atmosphere like that's at it's a railgun, so it's firing at faster than the speed of sound. Well, much faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah.
And through a frictionless environment, even when it hits a friction-filled environment in the atmosphere, it has such velocity to it.
Yep.
I mean, it's a kinetic weapon.
Yep.
And these are the things, it's funny that this weapon is brought up, but this is the kind of weapon that was brought up during, the Star Wars of the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's a very big Cold War thing. But I did think it was interesting because in Fallout New Vegas, that weapon is a laser weapon, right?
Yeah. Solar.
Well, solar, but yeah.
Yeah, it uses photons. Not accelerated photons, but concentrated photons. Interestingly, though, it's odd that here's a little thing. New Vegas, you may want to come back and readdress how this is supposed to work. It's a solar system which hits ground panels that reflect it either back up to a satellite to be reflected onto the Earth, or it just arcs. I think it actually just uses satellite. But the thing is, why is the light going through the atmosphere, then going back up out of the atmosphere, then going to a satellite, and then hitting the ground?
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
That would make it very weak. You would never devise a weapon like that. However, interesting point on the kinetic kill weapons. They're called relativistic weapons, i.e. you start using the theory of relativity to your advantage. And it goes into this question, how many guerrillas does it take to destroy the Empire State Building?
Depends on how fast they're going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just one, going at about, 0.8 C would take off, quarter of the Earth.
I was going to say, it'd go right through the planet.
Yeah.
It's a game of mass at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even mass. You don't have to have much mass.
And then you think about the space railguns like that. You're firing either depleted uranium or tungsten.
Yeah.
Something very hard and very dense.
Well, that would have a flash point that would be able to survive reentry.
Well, of course, that's why you don't use lead.
Yeah.
I mean, lead would just burn up in the atmosphere.
Melt, turn into a coagulous mass.
See,
and then it
would uranium, you're talking about U-232, and that's heavy, dense, can withstand tremendous amounts of heat.
Of course, that also comes with the caveat that you can get it up there in the first place because the shit's heavy, and getting heavy shit into space is not exactly ideal.
Right, but they also kind of, Mimezinga kind of explains that in that the satellite is made of ultralight, strong materials and plastics.
Yep.
The only thing that didn't make any sense is plastics in space.
Yeah.
Maybe, but difficult.
The chemistry probably wouldn't hold up.
They'd have to be shielded just to get up there. And then plastics in a vacuum environment are more likely to be brittle.
As well as you're dealing with massive heat differentiations. You go into the sun, suddenly you're at 500, 600 degrees, and then you're at night or you're in the shade and it just drops straight down.
Last place says that it's a rod from the heavens striking the ground. Almost biblical sounding. Well, it is very biblical.
Yeah.
It's very Deuteronomy.
And they've been called many things in sci-fi. You have Thor's hammer. You have, I think one actually used it as a Babylonian tower kind of thing. And that's a good way to raise a tower.
What did they call it in Gears of War? Hammer of the Sun or Hammer of something?
I think that was Thor's hammer.
Sun hammer or something?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was
Soul hammer, maybe?
No. Well, anyways, it was one of those things. We haven't even talked about it.
I played with the first one when it came out, and then I realized I had gotten through the main campaign in 3 hours, and I was like, bump those.
Puppy smiles and Henrietta gets away. What's his face? The head scribe. What's his name? Scold? Yeah. Anyways, he announces over the intercoms like, truce, everybody get the hell out of here, run away. Okay, sorry. Distracted by comments.
Yeah.
Everybody run, and that's basically what the sides do. And then the holy hell comes down from the sky. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't end. It destroys the ivory tower. And the first barrage just destroys the tower and the surrounding area. The second barrage actually blows up the power supply for the ivory tower.
Which is one thing they had they had hired Henrietta to take down was the generator. Depower the place so that they wouldn't have much resistance when they went in. Well, they also made it to where there wasn't any resistance when they went in.
Yeah.
Not even walls.
Yep. Well, so anyways, Puppy Smiles believes her mother to be in the tower. And now the tower is destroyed. And yet, after the first barrage, her indicator is still saying, the mission is still going. And she thinks, well, Mommy's still in there. Mommy's still alive.
And then the generator
explodes. Then the generator explodes, which is the one thing creating the beacon for her suit.
Yeah.
Therefore, it goes away.
Yep.
The mission is considered done. And this puts Puppy Smiles in a catatonic state.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
Where do I go? Mommy can't be gone.
She turns limp, and it kind of scares everyone.
Well, right. As particularly Henrietta, because she's never seen Puppy Smiles like this.
Mm-hmm.
Non-responsive, nonverbal, has nothing to say, nothing to contribute, and is, but funnily enough, is that Henrietta, in her own form of grief, not knowing what to do, begins puppeting Puppy Smiles, Puppet Smiles, and trying to make the paladins pay her caps, pretending to be Puppy Smiles talking.
And one of them's like, this is the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
This is the most screwed up thing I have ever seen. What?
You are using a catatonic child and voicing it to get me to pay you. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Though, after experiencing what happened, I'm pretty certain most people would have cracked.
Yeah.
They'd be like, it's kind of the theme that happens somewhat in Fallout, definitely in Fallout Equestria as a main theme, but kind of underlying and back and forth in Fallout, is a whole bunch of people who are reverted to mud throwers having in their arsenal mud and chaotic world-ending weapons.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the whole thing behind the not the Balefire egg launcher, because that's Fallout Equestria, the mini nuke launcher.
Right.
Is because you have this absolutely devastating weapon, and it's in the hands of what is effectively troglodytes.
Yep.
Especially in Fallout 2.
Absolutely.
So
super dangerous. But it also just kind of shows the chaos of where they had reached in the war.
Yeah.
I mean, the very idea of developing a weapon like that you would launch a mini nuke. I mean, there's no distance you could launch a mini nuke that it's safe for you.
It's actually based on the Davy Crockett, which was a
artillery round.
It was a gun-mounted nuclear warhead that they tested once.
Right, but it was an artillery round.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it was
that they fired.
But it was a mortar shell, effectively.
That's what I mean. It was an artillery cannon round, and it was a big boom.
Yeah,
it was a pretty big boom.
And they realized immediately that would not work because its trajectory could not get it far enough to prevent everyone from getting radiation.
Would have fallout. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Anyways, so moving on, Scold goes to Puppy Smiles and basically is talking to her, but she's catatonic. She's non-responsive. And he says, do I have your permission to look through your bags? It's only fair you looked through mine. And he gets in there and he finds a few things. He finds his broken glasses. He also sticks his hand down into squelchy, disgusting guts of the Parador, the dead baby Parador. And he pulls it out and he's like, it's almost fitting that the dead, the living dead would have a dead pet. Yeah, it's kind of fitting in a sick sort of a way. But as he piles through, he also realizes she lost a lot of things from her saddlebags flying over.
Yep.
And he has 2 saddlebags, and all of her items have been put in one of them.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's a child's kind of a thing to do.
Yeah.
But anyways, so in there, he finally finds what he's looking for, and that is the rangefinder, essentially, for the Ponemedes.
Yep.
Which he takes. But he also admits that Puppy Smiles saved the lives of many young paladins.
On both sides.
On both sides.
Because they got out and they didn't engage
and destroyed the target.
Yeah. So they no longer had anything to fight over, so they have less of a reason for bloody conflict.
Correct. But he even laments that, here we are, brothers fighting each other. How foolish.
Yeah.
How foolish.
Yeah, and now mind you, he did take the Euclid Sea Finder, the Ponymedes Sea Finder.
Yeah, he definitely has it.
After everything's been discharged, so goodness knows if he can actually do anything with it.
Well, and half the array wasn't even functioning anyways.
Yeah. They fired the first volley and then immediately fell out. Some of them fell out of orbit because they didn't have their recoil systems. So it just boom.
Right. And so, which would destroy them. Excuse me. But anyways, he does mention to Puppy Smiles that there was a settlement that was named after her mother.
Part of the settlement, yes.
Part of the settlement.
Yeah.
And this is kind of a hint at she did live, and this is where she settled down, potentially.
Yep.
And that's kind of where... So what happens is the suit, hearing this, creates a new beacon for Puppy Smiles.
Mr. Voice.
Mr. Voice. And meanwhile, Henrietta is bartering with Gauss.
Gauss and... I can't remember.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, the two paladins.
But anyways, they have 5 prisoners. One or several of them being scribes from the Steel Rangers. They surrendered, and so they're prisoners. But these prisoners need to be delivered back to where they came from. They're not going to murder them. In fact, they're going to do a prisoner exchange, return them from whence they came, because they're not monsters.
Cold shower.
Cold shower. So Gauss and cold shower. And Henrietta's like, listen, I did the job. We did the thing. I did better than you expected. I want my caps, and I want to get the hell out of here. And y'all need to help Puppy too.
Yeah.
And he says, well, how about this? We have these prisoners that need to be escorted, which should be a very easy thing for an aerial mercenary such as yourself, just to make sure they make it through the whatever desert.
Because they ratted, I guess would be the best term, on the other Steel Rangers, but they didn't join the Applejack Rangers. They just wanted to be left alone.
Remained loyal.
Yeah. And so they just kind of left.
Yeah. And so she's like, well, I'm not going to do that. You need to honor my contract. And he says, well, think of it this way. We'll take care of Puppy Smiles because I can guarantee you that we know we are in much better condition and knowledge to help your friend than you can. And let me tell you this. We will outfit you with the best weapons we have, and we will pay you additional caps for this on top of what we already owe you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a hard bargain to say no to. But meanwhile, he then lays it on thick and says, listen, if you don't do this, I will have to dispatch of them by some other means.
Yeah.
And
dead weight.
And one of the scribes of the Steel Rangers says, you wouldn't do that. I can't believe that Scold would allow this to happen. I was one of his top scribes. Mm-hmm. And we hear a bang sound as Gauss has fired a gun right next to the scribe. Yeah,
the scribe's effectively the ear, just because it cut off.
It takes off some of the mane.
Yeah.
But doesn't hurt the scribe, but the scribe pisses herself.
Yep.
And the scribe's, urine running down her leg. Scary. But anyways, that gets agreement for all parties. Mm-hmm. And is it Cold Shower that says to him, like, wow, you really had me going back there with that bluff? And he said, who said I was bluffing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, Applejack's Rangers, what they are doing is helping the wasteland, but they see those that won't help them as in the way.
They're still of the same cloth. They're still of the same training. They just now have directed their focus in a different way, but they still have the exact same mentality, the exact same
what I mean
focus,
is there is a disdain. There is a disdain for those that wouldn't join, because the whole purpose of the Steel Rangers were to follow Applejack's code anyways.
Yeah. And a blending of that with the Brotherhood of Steel, which is about preventing people from killing the shit out of each other with the technology from the old world.
Correct.
Which is what makes them so morally nebulous as a faction.
Right.
Because they'll kill you to stop you from killing yourself.
And in Fallout, I love the Brotherhood of Steel. I think they're wildly interesting. Generally in the games, they're cast as, well, I'd say half of the games they're good guys, half of the games they're either benign or...
Yeah, that's what it is. In the first two, they are... I could actually say in the first one, they're morally nebulous. They kind of act as the necessary good, but they're not the good guys. The good guys are definitely the NCR. In Fallout 2, they do actually paint them as more of the good guys against the Enclave.
Sure.
3, you have the good and the bad, which is obviously... Well, not good, but the absolute paragons and then the old Fallout.
Well, and you have to realize what Elder Lyons was doing. He was so far removed from the Western chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel.
He was having to act also.
Right. Well, and he was the lone authority figure on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they kind of go back in Fallout 4 of this group that's like, kill the muties, kill the synths. They made him out to be kind of Aryan supremacists.
It was very xenophobic.
I mean, and look at the Hitler Youth haircut that they gave to Maxon.
Oh yeah. That being said, Maxon wasn't wrong. I mean, he wasn't. I mean, he's talking.
No, you're right. The Sentinel, the synths were dangerous. Even the ones that believed them to be your allies could be turned. You could flip a switch. Even Paladin Dance, they could have flipped a switch and made him do something very dangerous and deadly.
Yeah, they do not have free will. And even if they did have free will, they have free will that can be altered and controlled in a way that a chemical body won't.
Right.
So that does make them dangerous.
Yeah.
The programmed ability to fit into every single situation at any point in time. I'm looking at you. What was his name from the railroad who always popped up in cutscenes? Deacon.
Oh, Deacon. Yes, of course.
Yeah. The ultimate synth.
I thought it was revealed that Deacon wasn't a synth.
I know, it was kind of led on that he was a synth.
Yeah, but then he's really not.
Nah.
Because if you kill Deacon, he doesn't have a synth component.
Yeah. No, it's just that the synths have the ability to mimic anyone in it.
Thank God for quick saves.
Yeah.
You could just test everybody.
Yeah.
But we've talked about that to death. We've talked about synths on this to death. We also mentioned that there really aren't synth characters in any of these stories, at least so far that we've read. They're cyborgs, but those aren't synths.
No. I'm actually trying to remember. I don't think I've heard many synths come out of Fallout Equestria, but I haven't read a lot of them, so I can't say.
Yeah, I guess the version of synths in this world would be mimics. We've kind of talked about that before, and that they can mimic people. What, we have a question pop up there?
Oh, yeah. No, it's just something related
talking
to
about DLC. But what's so funny about DLC? DLC more often than not is not really considered canonical. Like there's the main game, and then they kind of sort of DLC sort of maybe sort of happened, maybe didn't happen.
Yeah, maybe.
They really follow the main line.
Yeah, they just kind of expand. It's pretty much they make one game, try to make it as good as they can, and try to follow every single thing in lore, and then they kind of go, it'd be really cool, and then they make a DLC based on that idea.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool if the Enclave had a giant land tank that was based on the shuttle movers that NASA has.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And that's what they did.
So, moving on. Basically, the way the chapter ends, though, is that Henrietta goes to Scold to talk to him, and Puppy Smiles has already left. Puppy Smiles is rolling along on her way to.
But he kind of lies to Henrietta and goes.
He does. He really lies to Henrietta. In fact, it's an intelligence check.
Yeah.
Or a speech check. She's fine. She's in good hands. Those other ponies need you right now.
And Henrietta's like, yes, this makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I must go.
He even mentions about how his high intelligence was able to easily manipulate her.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the gamesmanship that we talk about going on here.
Which is a hilariously interesting part of criticism for Fallout Equestria is it's too much like a game, and it's like...
Yeah. So, anyways, so that's kind of where the chapter ends. You have Puppy Smiles on her red scooter heading towards broccoli, which she hopes is not some weird trick that her mother is going to force her to eat a broccoli pie.
Yeah.
And that's where the chapter ends.
Oh, they do mention there's one extra thing. Puppy mentions that while she was out, she heard that scary voice again talking to her and how she doesn't want wings.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say we didn't hear any of that, but we do have it. That apparently while she was catatonic, yes. What did we call the scary version of Puppy?
Oh gosh, that's been a bit ago.
Yeah,
I've completely forgotten.
That's all right. It's what happens when you have 4 months between episodes.
Yeah.
But the scary version of her personality.
Yep.
The nightmare moon
of
her personality. I guess that would be apropos if it was going to force her to grow wings, too.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, it is, let's face it, what she is zebra magic.
Yeah.
So
necromantic,
yeah.
Because even if she didn't have the zebra enchantment in the suit, that was kind of keeping the system alive, she's still powered by the pink cloud, which in itself is necromantic super magics.
Indeed.
So
yeah, she got a root and toot and double dose of that. So it has reached that time of the week and of the episode, Chris.
Yep.
And yet, I, like someone with Alzheimer's, have lost my train of thought. What time of the week is it, Chris?
Saturday?
Now, I don't think that's it.
I mean, it is.
No, but it's not.
It's day before Sunday.
But it's not that part of the episode. We don't have a Saturday part of the episode.
Oh, okay. Well, if we don't have a Saturday party episode, we only have it on Sunday. It means we'll have to come back to you for the Pony Pun of the Week.
Pony Pun of the Week!
Do you have one for us?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, neither do I.
How about this one?
If you, audience,
how about this one? I've got one for you. Hoof-hearted.
I think you actually made that one before.
I have made that one before?
Yeah. No,
but it's also funny because it sounds like who farted.
Yes. No, here we go. To you viewers out there, what I want you to do is for the Pony Pun of the Week, I want you to all take a piece of paper and a pen and write down the pony pun that you think should go on there, ball it up, throw it in the trash.
Stick it in a pre-stamped envelope and send it to 3900 Hollywood Boulevard, California, USA.
So tell them to send it to the MST3K fan club.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure that P.O. box is absolutely not still active. Just Mike Nelson just sitting by it, just like one day. People still love us.
Could it be Joel who's probably there?
No, he's just, rolling in his Netflix money.
I thought it was rolling in his I can't let go of the past money.
Yeah. Well, it's because he was the less funny guy on his own show.
Yeah.
How's that feel, Chris?
And less creative.
How's that feel?
I wouldn't know.
Oh, God almighty. So, we've reached the portion of the show where we mindlessly and blindly wander. It's a pretty good time for questions. So if you have a question, let us know. Those of you at home that are listening on the podcast, because we do know that you're there and we thank you for listening, check out the YouTube sometime, please. That'd be youtube.com/CriscoCast. You'll see it linked in the iTunes description, Google Play description. It's there.
Yeah.
Check us out. It's fun. It's cool. Come hang out with us. We usually do it on Saturday or Sundays.
Weekends.
Yeah. Remember what we said earlier? If you like the show, take a dart, throw it at a calendar, and pray to a god of luck, and you might get us.
You really love that joke.
I love it so much.
We also have a Discord.
Yes, we do.
We announced this last episode.
Did you already link it in the description?
The link is in the description.
Bingo bango.
So you guys can just pop down there, join the Discord, and we'll do announcements there. That's Twitter, really what it's for.
Because Twitter and Facebook are for squares. All the cool kids are on Discord. So join our Discord. We shitpost there. We do lots of fun stuff. We're just kind of getting rolling, but it's a great way for us to kind of announce the episode. In fact, Chris was like, get on Discord, tell people when we're going to do the episode. I can do the episode whenever. Get on Discord and tell people when we're going to do the episode.
Yeah.
Moonblaze says, thank you for a question. Okay, how do Celestia and Luna work?
This is an interesting concept, and I think so. He brought this up before, talking about space and how space would work with those two objects. And I think one way is that when you think space and you're thinking of the space program and the various things that ponies are going to do, you're probably thinking of a heliocentric solar system inside of a much larger universe. But I would say it's possible that we are actually looking at a geocentric universe.
It would have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it, if you have ponies that literally control the movements of the sun and the moon, that would imply that Equestria, or is Equestria the whole planet?
Equestria is
a country on the planet.
It is a nation, yes.
Do we have a name for the planet?
No.
All right. So the planet, if you're manipulating those objects, it does imply that, it's all in one place.
Yeah. So it also brings up an interesting point about how the zebras interacted with this. And I want to say it was brought up in Project Horizons.
You got to feel bad for the zebras because basically developmentally and such, they're on par with the ponies. I mean, they're not as technologically advanced.
So this is kind of...
But are they like the creatures that the gods forgot?
No, worse than that.
They're the devil's creatures?
So when Celestia and Luna were at battle, and Celestia banished Luna to the moon for 1,000 years, it was night over Equestria. What's on the other side?
It was sun.
It burned the zebra lands entirely.
Yeah.
It destroyed their culture. And so they suddenly got really pissed and really afraid. And that was the whole shtick, is they were afraid that Nightmare Moon was coming back, and when they put Luna in charge. Pretty much every single thing in the events of Fallout Equestria lead up to the destruction of the world as we know it. And you got to feel bad for some of these other countries, that nations and species that just kind of got hooped into what is effectively a war they had no part in. Literally third world countries by the definition of first, second, and third world.
In a way, if you think of it this way, look at it from this perspective. Okay, Celestia and Luna are the god, and their children, or their immediate creation, are the ponies of Equestria, the angels. What the zebras are the lowly humans being punished by the gods and the angels.
I actually thought you were going to go in a completely different direction than that. I thought you were going to do Isaac and Ishmael.
No, I was not going to go Christianity versus Islam. We can have that conversation. It's very uncomfortable.
Just going back to the origin, not really where they ended up being, but just the Isaac versus Ishmael. I choose the ponies. I do not choose the zebras. You go into the world and be on your own.
Yeah, no, you certainly could go that route too. I was trying to keep it more angelic, but
Yeah. It's interesting, and we do bring this up a ton because it is a fantastic and fascinating kind of world where you can't question the fact that there's a God, because the God's kind of sitting over there, and you can go talk to them, and they are God. It's not like it's some kind of like pseudo theocracy or like a papacy or something.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing that actually raises the sun, and if they don't do it, you don't get sun today.
Right.
Holy shit.
But see, you got to keep in mind too, and the reason why it doesn't satisfy me, the Isaac Ishmael conversation, is that the ponies look like the goddesses. They are elements of the goddesses, like being angelic.
Yeah.
They are definitely a chosen people. But it does the whole creation, obviously going way too deep into what is ultimately a children's show. But the whole creation mythos is like, is there an origin story for how the world was created? I mean, the goddesses have parents, right?
A mother.
Right. But I mean, there's a lineage.
Which is Fausticorn.
Is what?
Which is Fausticorn.
That's her name?
That's Fausticorn, which is Lauren Faust Sauce.
Okay.
Yes, her original character. And interesting point that we actually realized at BronyCon, all of the characters in the show are Lauren Faust's original characters. They're all her OCs.
Maybe what we're doing is we're looking at it from a Christian perspective, when what we should be looking at it from is like a Greek perspective.
Possibly.
Think about it. Celestia and Luna are essentially
Titans.
Yeah. Because it's a good point that Mimezinga makes, that the regular ponies, the Earth ponies, the Pegasi ponies, the Unicorn ponies, are terraformers.
Yeah.
They are like gods themselves in a way, compared to the humans that are the zebras, the buffalo, all the other lower high intelligence or regular intelligence. I guess the buffalo aren't high intelligence, but the other thinking creatures like the diamond dogs.
Racism.
Well, some of them aren't. Like, there's cows, but they're not very smart.
No.
Right?
Yeah, it's weird.
It's the whole goofy Pluto shit.
Yeah.
You know, if we're talking about, we probably brought this up before, but if you're talking about Mickey Mouse and his best friend is Goofy, who's a dog, and he also has a dog who is in his backyard, is Pluto just a retarded?
Oh, no. Mickey's just really heavily into pet play.
That's really upsetting.
I like that you knew exactly where I was going with it before I even said it.
It's too much. Wolf boy. And that sick fuck has those white gloves too. I don't like it.
Do you think Luna and Celestia could have popped out of nowhere, possibly as part of mythos? It's often described that beings form in the vacuum of nothingness to inhabit the essence of something. I feel like that's Hinduism. That's the reason.
What were you asking?
Well, he says, do you think Luna and Celestia could have just popped out of nowhere? And I feel like that's a Hinduistic thing, is that when something comes into itself, a god manifests itself into creation to fulfill the identity of that thing. And so you could go with that route. I wouldn't even know whether the ponies believe in reincarnation or a divine cycle.
I do think the way to look at them is from the Greek perspective, because they are gods that can die. They are gods that can fornicate.
Yeah.
You know?
We kind of I said this during the Fall of Equestria thing. Blue blood, I think, and a few other people believe this as well, is that Celestia takes on courtesans throughout the ages, and Blue blood is a descendant of one of those courtesans, which is the reason that he is her nephew.
Mm-hmm.
Nephew.
Right.
Just because it's probably, who knows how far that lineage was, who knows whether it was a one-time or multiple-time thing, but I think it was also explained that cadence is related to them, but I don't remember exactly if that's true or that's just a fan thing that happened.
Sure. You know what? I think we've just about covered it for this week. We've got a good time limit. You know, not every episode needs to be an hour. But I do want to thank you all for being here with Chris and I, and I hope that this is a sign of more regular things to come. I love being regular. Consider this your YouTube fiber for podcasts every week. So
eat your YouTube brand, kids.
Do remember, we have the Discord linked below. You can, of course, email us anytime at cbpbch@gmail.com. If you like what we do, would like to support us, we have links below that you can do to support the channel. Please feel free to do such. And with that, for Chris, I'm Robert. It's been a hell of a time, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see y'all next week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I have to be the one hitting in the stream because I'm closest to the mouse.
There you go.